Welcome back to 6.5, Applications of Rational Functions. We left off at example 6. We had already filled out some of the information on Amelia and Matt. We know that their distance that they travel is the same, so both 300 meters. We know that their rate are a little bit different. Their rates are a little bit different. So Matt has an unknown rate, x. We don't know how fast he's going, but we don't know the same with Amelia. But we do know that she moves at 1 meters per second faster than Matt, so that's why the plus 1 is there. We've already established that we don't want to put their times in time t because we don't want two variables, so we came up with a workaround. We wanted to use the formula, which we manipulated from the rate formula, as t equals d over r, or time equals the distance divided by r. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find both their times in regard to x. So here's Amelia, and here's Matt. Okay, and we're going to use the same formula for both. So t equals d over r. Now, t, that's what we're solving for, equals the distance, 300, divided by the rate, x plus 1. So that is the time for Amelia. Matt, it's going to be very similar. T equals the distance divided by r. So t equals 300 over x. Now, how do their times compare? Are they the same? That's the question. Are they the same? And the answer is no. If we look back to the problem, we see that Amelia saves 50 seconds. So their times are not identical. Otherwise, they would have got there at the same time and they would have the same speed. But instead, Amelia is 50 seconds faster. So how do we express that Amelia is 50 seconds faster? 50 seconds faster using an equation. Well, let's start by writing their equations in regard to time. So we're just going to take this part, we're going to ignore the t. So Matt's time over x would be equal to Amelia's time if you took off how much time? If you took off 50 seconds. So their times would be equal if Amelia subtracted 50 seconds, or sorry, if you added 50 seconds to Amelia's time. Okay, so imagine Amelia finished in a minute. Matt finished 50 seconds after him, or after her. So if you add 50 seconds to Amelia's time, you would get Matt's time. Or if you wanted to, you could do Matt's time minus 50 seconds because he's 50 seconds slower equals Amelia's time. All right, so we already have plus 50 written out, so let's go ahead and stick with that. Okay, and it's plus 50, just a reminder, Amelia's time, because as you add time, you're becoming slower and Amelia's faster. So to get her time to equal Matt's, we need to add time. Okay. Now we have an equation. We have the variable x, so we're ready to roll. Let's get rid of the denominators. So we have x plus 1. 50 does not have a denominator, so we can go ahead and multiply all terms by x times x plus 1. We're going to multiply this green to all three. And the reason being is we are going to see what cancels in just a second. So I'm going to extend this. X equals 300 x plus 1 plus 50. And we're going to multiply 50. I'm going to put 50 in parentheses because we're going to be multiplying him. Or her. I guess it could be a her. So then we have x plus 1, x plus 1, and x plus 1. We're just distributing here, okay? Now, let's cancel. This is the good part because this saves us a lot of time. Let's cancel the x's. X plus 1 cancels with x plus 1. And the 50, that's going to have to get multiplied. So we'll do that next. So here we have 300 times x and 300 times 1. 300x plus 300 equals, here we just have 300 times x plus 50 times x is 50x. All right, so now we still have to multiply that by x plus 1. And I want to do that one in 2 steps. So we have 300x plus 300 equals 300x plus 50 times x is 50x squared plus 50x times 1 is 50x. This looks bad, but we're going to simplify it pretty quickly here, and you're going to see. All right, so let's subtract 300x from both sides. Why am I doing that? Well, I recognize that if you have the same thing on both sides, essentially what you're going to do is you're going to cross them out. Okay, 300x minus 300x is just 0. Now I see I have 300 on this side. I want this whole thing. If I see an x squared, I know I need this equation equal to 0 so I can factor it. So I need to subtract 300 from both sides. When I'm done doing that, I get 0 equals 50x squared plus 50x minus 300. Looks super complicated, really is not. We recognize that you can factor out a 50, or essentially what you can do is you can divide everything by 50 here.